If you've ever felt more comfortable sitting in complete silence with someone than filling the air with casual conversation, there's a specific psychological trait that explains why your brain processes social connection in a fundamentally different way than most people. You're not antisocial and you're not rude. You're someone who experiences what researchers call depth-oriented social processing. Your mind naturally gravitates toward meaningful exchange rather than surface-level interaction. When faced with small talk, your brain doesn't just find it boring. It actually experiences a kind of cognitive friction because you're wired to seek substance in communication. This creates an internal tension between social expectations and your authentic communication needs. If this already feels familiar, subscribing helps you understand patterns most people never stop to examine. Behavioral studies indicate that Dr. Susan Cain's research on introversion and Dr. Sherry Turkle's studies on digital communication show that approximately 15 to 20% of people have what psychologists term high cognitive need for meaning in social interactions. Research suggests that individuals with this trait show different neural activation patterns when engaging in superficial versus deep conversation. Their brains literally light up differently when processing meaningful dialogue compared to conventional social scripts. This isn't a learned preference. It's a fundamental difference in how your nervous system processes interpersonal information. The first thing that sets you apart is your relationship with conversational depth. While most people use small talk as a social lubricant or comfort mechanism, you experience it as cognitively taxing. Your brain is constantly searching for the real conversation beneath the surface pleasantries. When someone asks, "How's the weather?" your mind immediately wants to know what they're actually trying to communicate or connect about. This isn't impatience or social superiority. Your neural pathways are simply optimized for processing complex, nuanced information rather than managing social rituals. You can engage in small talk when necessary, but it requires conscious effort because you're essentially translating between your natural communication style and social convention. It's like being fluent in a language but having to constantly switch between dialects. Think about the last time you had to make small talk at a gathering. Did you feel mentally drained afterward, even though nothing challenging was discussed? You also possess what researchers call selective social energy allocation. Unlike people who gain energy from any social interaction, you have a finite amount of social bandwidth that you unconsciously reserve for connections that feel authentic and substantial. Small talk depletes this energy without providing the psychological reward of genuine understanding or insight. This selective allocation isn't conscious snobbery. Your brain has learned to distinguish between interactions that offer mutual understanding and those that serve purely social maintenance functions. When you encounter the latter, your mind naturally conserves energy because it recognizes that the exchange won't meet your deeper need for meaningful connection. It's an unconscious efficiency mechanism that protects your mental resources for interactions that actually matter to you. Your comfort with silence stems from what psychologists call nonverbal intimacy preference. You've learned that shared quiet often contains more authentic communication than words. In silence, you can sense someone's actual emotional state, their comfort level, their genuine thoughts. You pick up on micro-expressions, energy shifts, and unspoken understanding that gets lost when people fill space with conventional chatter. Silence feels safe to you because it's honest. There's no performance, no social script to follow, no need to generate responses that meet social expectations rather than express authentic thoughts. In quiet moments, you can simply exist alongside another person without the cognitive load of managing conversational flow. This creates space for genuine connection to emerge naturally rather than being forced through verbal exchange. Notice how your most meaningful relationships often include comfortable silences where both people feel understood without needing to explain themselves. Do you find your best conversations happen in quiet moments? Most people don't realize that your brain processes social hierarchy differently than theirs. While others use small talk to establish social positioning, test compatibility, or demonstrate friendliness, you instinctively bypass these mechanisms. You're more interested in understanding who someone actually is than where they fit in social structures. This creates what researchers call social script resistance, an unconscious tendency to avoid or minimize interactions that feel scripted or performative. Your mind naturally rebels against conversations that follow predictable patterns because they don't provide the psychological stimulation you need to feel engaged. You're essentially allergic to conversational formulas that prioritize social smoothness over authentic exchange. Have you noticed this pattern in your own social interactions? Here's something most people never consider. Individuals who prefer silence over small talk often have heightened sensitivity to conversational authenticity. You can detect when someone is speaking from genuine interest versus social obligation, when they're sharing real thoughts versus expected responses, when they're actually listening versus waiting for their turn to talk. This authenticity radar makes small talk particularly challenging because you're simultaneously managing the surface conversation while processing the underlying emotional and intentional dynamics. It's like trying to have two conversations at once, the spoken one and the real one. Your brain is working overtime to navigate this dual-layer communication, while most people are only operating on the surface level. And here's what's really interesting about how your brain works. You likely experience what psychologists call conversational overwhelm in group settings, not because you can't handle multiple people, but because you're unconsciously tracking the authenticity levels of multiple simultaneous interactions. Your brain is working overtime to find genuine connection points while navigating various social performances. Many people with this trait describe feeling most connected to others during activities that don't require constant verbal exchange, working on projects together, walking, or simply being present in the same space. These situations allow for natural conversation to emerge without the pressure of maintaining artificial dialogue. The connection happens through shared experience rather than manufactured interaction. Your preference for silence often correlates with what researchers term internal processing dominance. You think through ideas, emotions, and responses more thoroughly before expressing them. Small talk's rapid-fire exchange pattern doesn't align with your natural cognitive rhythm, which favors depth over speed. This internal processing style means that when you do speak, your words typically carry more weight and intentionality than casual conversation. You're not trying to fill time or maintain social connection through volume of interaction. You're trying to create understanding through quality of exchange. This can make you seem more serious or intense than you actually are, simply because you don't engage in verbal filler. Consider whether you've ever been told you're too quiet when you were actually processing and choosing your words carefully. None of this is random. It's a consistent psychological pattern that reflects how your mind prioritizes and processes social information. Your preference for silence over small talk isn't antisocial behavior. It's your brain's way of conserving energy for the kinds of interactions that actually nourish your need for authentic human connection. Understanding this about yourself explains why forced networking events feel exhausting, why you connect more easily in one-on-one settings, and why some of your most meaningful relationships have been built through shared silence rather than constant conversation. Your social needs aren't wrong, they're actually more sophisticated. While others connect through volume, you connect through depth. While they network, you form bonds. You're not missing something, you're seeking something most people never even realize exists. If this helped you understand yourself more clearly, subscribing supports deeper explorations like this. Your preference for meaningful over superficial isn't a social limitation. It's a psychological orientation that, when understood, can help you find and create the kinds of connections that actually satisfy your need for authentic human understanding.